ACS gas training, installation faults, questions and answers. My name's Alan Hart, and in today's video we've got Elliot from eFry Gas Services has sent us a video, quite a few videos in with regards to installation faults or faults on gas carcasses and gas boilers, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you all of Elliot's video, and then at the end I'm going to use the manuals and we're going to go through the manuals and I'll show you. We'll answer the questions if you like, or try and answer as many of the questions as possible. What I'd like you to do, if you could, as you're going on in this video, when you see a fault, if you could pause the video and then put a comment below with what the fault is and why it's a fault, and then hopefully that'll build up, you know, a lot of answers if you like, and then at the end obviously you'll see which of them faults I've picked up as well. So yeah, I hope you find this video of some use, and if you've got any videos like this, again, please send them in. I'm very welcomed any videos that people send in, and I will have my WhatsApp details in the bottom here as well in the comments. Right then, let's go and have a look. This video is for gas safe, registered and trainee gas engineers under supervision. Please comply with the current regulations at the time.
Okay, so just come do a landlord's gas safety check, and there's a few little things. So I'm going to be, this is for you guys and girls that are gas training. Any issues you think you can see with this this installation across these videos, I'll let you try and pick them up. I'm not going to moan like a grumpy old man that I am. I'll ask you if you can see any issues here, anything you think is not up to regulation. I can climb over this lot without getting hurt, but if you think you can see anything here, then please label it and see what's what. And as you should know, when you're doing landlord's gas safety inspection, that involves inspecting the gas pipework within the property as much as you really can. You're not expected to take out kitchen units and whatever, but you are expected to make a reasonable effort to inspect not just the boiler if they've just got a boiler, or the gas hob, whatever it may be, but all installation pipework. For your information, that's roughly about 700 mils worth of pipework, that bit. So tell us what you think. Tell Alan what you think.
So that's the first part. I hope you found quite a few faults on that. I will go over them faults shortly. I'm going to show you some more now from Elliot. Please, if you could, make sure you put them comments below. Also, if you could like, comment, share, etc, etc, etc. All that stuff helps with the video. So yeah, let's get back to Elliot.
So I've come because the parents of the tenants here are a bit worried. So I'll come do another second landlord safety inspection, and since the last one, and clearly the installer back in 2017 just couldn't be asked to make good around the flue, which is quality. Nice wonky hole as well as they come through the wall. Okay, so covering up the customer's information, but the benchmark. So do you see anything wrong with the benchmark here, or does everything look okay to you? Just so you know, this is a combi boiler, so it's doing both the heating and hot water. So is there anything on the benchmark that is incorrect? Okay, using the awesome DLM Pro from Socket and C. Watch Alan's 2 videos from the guy from Socket and C, and see what you can learn from that. So I'm going to do a loop impedance test. So earth's on. Trying to do this one-handed is never easy. Won't do it. Trying to hold that. can't get them in. There we go. There. I can't hold them in. Okay, it's doing the test, and I'm trying not to show you what it says at the bottom, but you tell me if this is a good reading or not. I think you may have saw it slightly in the screen then. 0.4 ohms. Is that good or is it bad? So this is the working pressure with the boiler in management mode on high. Is that correct? Is it not? You tell me. And I'm going to gas rate the meter. So, if we can, this is a U6 meter, it says so there. So, can you remember how to do the maths equation? Sometimes I can't always, because I'm old, so I use an app. But last time I did my renewal, I had to prove that I knew all the equations for the different gas meters, not just using an app. So, do you know it? If you don't, learn it. It is invaluable, definitely. So, this is the last Landlords Gas Safety Certificate carried out. The next one was June 20th. My phone always goes off. 20th of March, so we're a little bit overdue on this one due to COVID and what have you. But there we go. And this engineer found 0 defects, issued no warning advice notices, and did not carry out any work. And he's not recommending any work to be carried out. So, do you agree with that? If so, that's fine. If you don't, if so, that's fine. But leave some comments down below for you trainees. Alan will be happy to read through them. And Alan may well at the end of this put a little list of things that he has seen, if he has seen anything, and go from there. So that is where the gas pipe comes down through. Baby stuff out of the way. Now, one thing I did like about this, you can see the installation, was air gap, which may or may not be needed for this boiler. You always check the manufacturer's instructions. But 1.25" pipe, 1.5" washing machine upstand kit. I use these for an air gap quite often. But excuse the camera because it's going to flip on its head. But they've used, if I can focus, the 1.25" part of the socket. They've used it to crush it onto the fitting, as opposed to increasing this 1.25" up to 1.5" pipe and then putting it onto the washing machine trap part. They've just used the joint. The joint on that is actually onto this part of the fitting, not onto pipe work, which is, I mean, it works. It's leak free. Doesn't make it right. But there we go. If you're ever in a tight spot, peeps, then you can get away with it like that on a Friday night. Get you out of jail free card. Now, I'm not going to run through the entire process of analysing boilers, because otherwise this video will be too long, but when analysing any boiler, what do you analyse? i.e. high or low or mid-range, with the case on or the case off. And if you need to make adjustments on the gas valve, like I am here, what do you do after you've made an adjustment on either high or low or mid or whatever you think you may need to test it on? What do you do? Do you do any more checks? Do you just adjust it and job done? And obviously your Flue test points are there. When do you test the combustion air? When do you test Flue integrity or supply air? Case off, case on, both. Have a little read, see what you need. And regarding your readings, I'd say now on this one, it should be 8.7 on high, this particular model, which I've got. See the part per millions are good and the ratio is amazing. See what the XS says, 36.6. Check the manuals. Every boiler is different. Some boilers you cannot adjust the gas valve. If the readings are out and you've cleaned the main heat exchanger, then it's a new gas valve time. This one is a Landlords gas safety check, but it's not up to its 5 years, it's only 3 years old, so I'm not removing the combustion chamber. I've made a very, very tiny adjustment on it, literally next to nothing. I prefer to clean them out to see if it will clean out the main heat exchangers before making adjustments, but this was burning at like 8.65, which is close enough, but I've just tweaked it a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to be doing the let-by test. Is that the correct pressure to be carrying out the let-by test? Is that the correct stability time? And is that the correct test time? Excuse the focusing. So you tell me, is that the right stability time, the right test time? Don't want to show you what the all the stuff it does tell you, and it's giving it away. But is that the right pressure to start testing let-by? There we go. So it's going through its prepare device for ramp phase. This is the Testo 320B, which I will be doing a comparison to the 327A, which I have had. And whilst that's doing its thing, going on about the gas pipe here, we have a 28 kilowatt combi boiler, 22mm outlet, and we have a gas cooker, which I haven't looked yet, but I think it burns around about 12.5 kilowatts worth of gas. 22mm pipe, first bend, we've got a T that goes off to the boiler, we've got another bend in the corner, that's a 90-degree solder bend, another 90-degree solder bend, and then another 90-degree solder bend down there, and then it runs straight in behind all the cupboards. Up here we've got a sweat bend, and then we've got two 90s, then we've got another 90, another 90 and another 90. So to get to the boiler we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I think 90-degree bends soldered, a few sweat bends. And to get to the cooker we know we at least got 1 22, 2 22mm bends, 3 22mm bends, 4 22mm bends. It's a complete byproduct while I'm waiting for this test to carry out, but yeah, let me know what you think. And getting back to here, if it focuses, so pressure 1 when I started was 9.9, pressure 2 was 9.9, so there's a differential pressure of nothing so far. The test time is on 40 seconds. It's just past the stability. So did that pass stability when it's carried it out, or did it not? What do you allow for stability? And then on the actual let-by itself, what is your allowance on the ECV or AECV if you're working from one of those? So we've just got to the end of it, and we've got, there we go, 9.9 actual test time, and we've got a differential pressure of 0. Max you're allowed 1, it's saying there. But what do we think? Is that a pass?
Thank you very much for that, Elliot. Just one thing to point out, I am not a trainer, so this video, you need to make your own judgment. Always follow the installation instructions. I'm going to read some of these. I've actually got the Baxi service, the engineer one, the engineer manual. So we'll have a look at that as well. Read your manuals. Also, ring gas safe. Don't just wing it. Never ever wing it. Find the answer. Even if sometimes you might be embarrassed to find that answer, at least if you find the answer, then you'll know for next time. So never ever wing it, never guess, find out. So yeah, let's have a look at some of these questions now. If we start at the gas meter, and if we start with the ECV, emergency control valve, we'd be checking that falls into the off position, and we'd also be checking that it's labelled. So you need to have the correct label on. And in your Viper book, this is in your Viper book, it's L21 in the Viper book, and it tells you all about labelling and the ECV. We'd also be checking that the meter is supported and there's no damage to the meter. And we also need to check that it's got an emergency contact number for the gas emergency service, so it needs to be labelled on the meter. We'd also be looking and checking the governor and the anaconda, make sure seals are intact, make sure there's no damage. And then what we'd do, we'd be checking for the bonding as well at the meter. When we look at the bonding, we'd expect the bonding to be within the first 600 millimeters of the meter. Nice diagram there. And before the first T, so you see there, that's very clear. It needs to be 10 millimeter wire, so the wire needs to be 10 mil. And you see there's a detailed diagram. So that's a few of the faults at the gas meter. Not all faults on this one, but just to show you what you would need to be checking at the gas meter. If we have a look at this gas pipe now, if we follow this pipe down, we can see it looks like it's very close to the cement. Now you need to be careful with that. I cannot see exactly on this video, but that can corrode the gas pipe. So you just need to be careful that you're using the correct clips for that. So check that yourself. And this is one that catches people out quite a lot. Electrical wires near gas pipes. Now you need to check for yourself in the installation instructions and the regulations and any of your books, but it should be 25 millimeters minimum from any gas pipe work. I'm using the Viper Gas training manual and it's page K26, and this gives us the clearances to the electrical cables, and that tells us it should be spaced at least 150 millimeters away from all electrical equipment, electrical metering equipment, main switches, consumer units or distribution boards. But in our particular case here, the wires are touching the gas pipe, and these need to be spaced a minimum of 25 millimeters away from the gas pipe. If we go around the rest of this pipe work, if we have a look, we can just see the pipe going through the wall there. It's hard to see whether it's sleeved or not, but obviously the pipe going through the wall should be sleeved. And there's a detailed section in the Viper book, and it's K18, page K18, and it tells you about pipe sleeving. Just to make it clear again, I am not a trainer. I've done this job for 30 years, or just over 30 years now, so I've done it a long time, but I'm not a trainer. Now what we'll do now, we'll just move on to the Flue, and I phoned Baxi to ask them about this. As I say, I've phoned Baxi. I've just phoned Baxi Technical to ask them about this Flue. And they've said that this Flue, the seal itself is not suitable. It needs to be cemented in as well. So you need to have sand and cement in the Flue. They did say that if you wanted any advice, you can email technical.helpline@baxi.co.uk. and they will give you it in writing. So if you've got any questions at all on a Baxi boiler, they will give you in writing. And with regards to the benchmark document, I have done a full detailed video on the benchmark code of practice. So if you want to search for new gas boiler installation, benchmark code of practice, and there's a detailed video in there. Rather than have this video, it'd be just too long otherwise. And with regards to the DLM Pro from Socket and C, we have done a detailed video on the technical bulletin TB118, and that's the electrical safe isolation of gas boilers. We also did a follow-up video when things go wrong, just to show you that when all the readings are not correct, just to show you what you need to do then as well. So I'll put some links below to them videos.
So I'm going to be doing the let by test. Is that the correct pressure? to be carrying out the let by test. Is that the correct stability time? And is that the correct test time? Excuse the focusing. So you tell me.
So again, if we refer to the Viper book or the Viper training manual, and it's on page G13, G13, and it tells us that let by should be done between 7 and 10 millibar. And it would be timed for 1 minute. So your let by test, we're raising the pressure between 7 and 10 millibar, and we're doing that for 1 minute. And what is a let by test? And this confuses some people, but what a let by test is, if you're going to test, what we're testing is we're testing the gas carcass, if you like. So we're testing, make sure there's no gas leaks on the installation of the gas of the system. But what could happen, and it's very, very unlikely, but what could happen, you could have a leak on the gas control valve, so on the ECV, the emergency control valve. So for instance, if that gas control valve was leaking, if it was passing a little bit, and then you put a tightness test on, then it may not show that it's leaking. So what let by is doing, you're testing the valve and you're making sure that that's not leaking, it's not passing. And if this test failed, if you did notice it were rising, and check your books for this, but if you did know it was rising, then what you could do, you could disconnect the meter, the anaconda, and you could spray the valve. And that way, if that was bubbling, then you'd know that the ECV is passing. And obviously then you'd have to call the emergency services to come out and change the gas tap, change the ECV for you. And again, we have done a video on how to do a tightness test and how to do a let by test. And I did that with Viva Training Academy. And what I'll do, I'll add a link in the description below, and that goes through the full procedures of doing a tightness test, doing the let by test, and also your stability check, etc. And with the question on case on or case off for testing with the Flue gas analyzer, I've actually phoned Baxi up, and the assistant, the technical guy, he said that it doesn't say in the manual, but in his opinion you would test with the case on. So you would always test with the case on. And in the installation instructions it shows you to check the high and low, and it shows you how to put it into service mode, and it shows you on high it should be 8.7% for the CO2 plus or minus 0.2, and then when you turn it to the low setting it should be 8.4% CO2 plus or minus 0.2. And different models and different boilers, the manufacturer's instructions are different, so always refer to the installation instructions for the boiler that you're going to work on. I tried to answer as many of the questions as I can in this video. If you take anything from this video, what I would say is always read the installation instructions, always read any manuals, and know what you're doing. So for instance, if you're going to start installing Baxi boilers or Wiesmann boilers or Valent or Glowworm or any of the brands, if possible, go on the training courses with the manufacturers. I know at the minute that might be a little bit limited, but try and go on the training courses and you will learn a lot on them training courses. Also with control manufacturers, if they do training courses, go on the training courses and try and get your knowledge to be as high as possible. And as I say, always refer to the installation instructions, and if you don't know, ask, find out, because that'll give you your foundations, if you like, so that you know that from the start you're doing it correctly, and then you can just work from that and build on your knowledge as you go. And as I've said on many of my videos, I've been doing this job for over 30 years now. I think that I'm very good at what I do, but I'm learning every single day. And even when I do these type of videos, people put comments in, and then I'll look at the comments and I'll think, oh, right, okay, and I'll do a bit of research and I'll just see if I were right or they were right, whatever. Because you're not always going to be right, but try and find out. And I know I'm babbling on a little bit now, but as I say, the most important thing of all, read the manuals, read the instructions, installation manual. If you're installing boilers or cookers or fires, your installation manuals, they're the key thing that you need to understand and know. Yeah, I hope this video has been of some use. Please, if you're still watching now, surely I deserve a thumbs up on video. And please, if you can, like, comment, share, add it to any of the groups. So if you're on Facebook or whatever, add it to Facebook groups and let them have a chat about it. Yeah, thanks very much and thanks for watching.
Good Monday morning. Down in Devon, they just put sand around flues with a teaspoon full of cement. High quality work down here as always, so if you want a job done in South Devon, guaranteed almost to get a